The cymbal market is flush with so many manufacturers and types of cymbals that it can be overwhelming. So how do we find the right ones? Cymbal sound is totally subjective, but every cymbal is different, so you have to be vigilant in order to find the cymbal sound that's best suited to you and your style of music. Tony Costello of CymbalsOnly.com offers some sage advice. The biggest problem is managing expectations because no one cymbal is ever perfect. Having access to anything and everything with companies custom making this and that, sure, you get closer, but the perfect thing doesn't exist. What I've done with my own stuff is basically stop searching, just relax, and let them come to me. As we discuss the various parameters or characteristics of a cymbal, remember that each parameter is just a guide, so we can't emphasize one particular thing over another. All parameters are interconnected and dependent on each other, which is why cymbals are so mystical and magical. Let's learn more about cymbals. Every cymbal starts with the alloy. Think of it as the main ingredients of a dish. What flavors or sonic colors are present within the alloy itself? These alloy recipes are proprietary information, and in many cases, closely guarded family secrets that have been passed down for generations. So let your ears be the guide, because we may never know what they're using. Billy Brennan reminds us that while the alloys used by cymbal companies provide the foundation for the sound of the final product, they're only hitting the tip of the iceberg. A finished cymbal and its overall sound is the result of craft skill, hammering patterns, tempering, and different lathing techniques. Each manufacturing step, besides the size, weight, and shape, affects the sound of a cymbal. Different fuels produce different amounts of heat, and that has an effect on the sound and the hardness of the alloy. Some companies use temperature-controlled ovens for maximum consistency. Different manufacturers heat and cool their cymbals in different ways. For example, Bosphorus cymbals have a softer feel to them because they use a wood-burning oven. Just know that different companies use different methods. It's either different weight distribution or profile-induced stiffness, or different oven temperature while tempering. All right, on to the bells. Once they have a flat disc, they form the bell. Is the bell tall and wide? Or is it low and wide? Or maybe it's small and tall. What kind of a slope does it have? Is it abrupt, like an upside-down bowl? Or does it have a gradual slope? Where is the slope or bend in the bell most prominent? Some do it by hand, and others use a bell press. A bell press will produce a consistent bell across a line and size of cymbals, but it may lack the complexity that can be present with an imperfectly hand-formed bell. I have a slight preference for hand-formed bells, but I have several cymbals that I love whose bells were made with a press. It depends on the sound and vibe that you're looking for. A big, wide bell will anchor the bow and have a big, deep, dry, or isolated presence. A small bell may allow the bow to flex and wobble. But a small bell can also be bright and pingy, almost piercing, depending on how much weight or alloy is in it. Think of the bell as its own instrument in a sense. How much weight or alloy is in the bell, and how is that distributed throughout the bell? Am I hearing the rest of the cymbal vibrate sympathetically? If everything is vibrating together, then it's well integrated. Or does it sound isolated? Hammering and lathing have the greatest effect on the profile or shape of the cymbal. How much is the cymbal bent from the base of the bell to the edge? As the taper profile increases on the bow, the tension increases on the alloy, which raises the pitch and makes it more rigid or less crashable, more gong-like. Is the profile deep? Or is it flat? If it's bent, where is it bent? If it's on the flatter side, then it will feel softer and more absorbent. It may have a faster decay and be more crashable. I don't know of any standard of measurement for profile, so we just have to play it to know how it responds. Some of the more elusive aspects of the profile are impossible to recreate. I asked Craig about the way this cymbal sparkles. It's as if it has rivets. Craig responded, the profile has a major impact on the sound and feel of the cymbal. Now let's talk about overall weight. With that said, how much weight do you like in a 22-inch main ride? Anything less than about 2,200 grams doesn't cut through enough for me as a main ride. Anything over about 2,600 grams gets a little too focused and pingy for me. I have a range for how I like my 22-inch rides. Most jazz rides fall within that range. Ever see those ads for rare, super rare, holy grail, Zildjian Istanbul K, 22 inches, 2,950 grams? I know immediately when I see something like that it won't work for me. I've developed ranges for cymbal weights in my favorite sizes, and I've been a little crazy about it, so I've written a short description of all my cymbals and their respective weights on a spreadsheet. I also have a cloud storage file of every recording I've ever made of a cymbal, so I can go back and reference it at any time. But again, without knowing anything else about the cymbal, I couldn't select it based on weight alone. My 18-inch crashes are all within 1,250 grams to 1,350 grams. Any thinner, and it's too soft and wispy. Any thicker and heavier, and it turns into a ride, or a crash ride. I know this because I pay attention to the weight of nearly every cymbal that I play. Create a list, create a spreadsheet, and eventually the winning weight ranges will reveal themselves to you. Where is the weight distributed around the cymbal? Is it around the edge, in the middle of the bow, or in the bell? This is why overall weight alone could be misleading. The way it's distributed could tell us so much more, and the only way to know how it's distributed is to play it. You have to hit the entire surface of the cymbal. I once bought a 22-inch AGOP traditional ride in a range that I typically like, but the weight was all concentrated in the bell. It had this bright, pingy, heavy bell, and the rest of the cymbal was thin and wispy. It played way lighter than I had expected. Just keep in mind that the weight distribution has a massive impact on the sound of the cymbal. So what's the Turk sound? What happens when they don't lay the cymbal? just remember that lathing has a drastic effect on the sound of the cymbal. So how do we describe the effects of the design? We have the attack, the decay or sustain, and then we also can describe the characteristic of the crash. There's no definitive correct scale for measuring the wetness or dryness, for instance. These terms help us get a little closer to describing and hopefully finding the sound that we're hearing in our head. I just want you to understand why a particular cymbal sounds the way it does. Can you identify what you like about it and what you don't? And do you know why? So what are my favorite cymbals? Let's check them out. Based on the sounds of recordings from my favorite drummers, Tony Williams and Elvin Jones, I've tracked down some choice pies after years of searching. I like it when a ride cymbal can take a shank and keep moving along. I also like some profile on a main ride. The flatter profiles of the Agop SE Jazz series didn't work for me. With that said, I love my 24-inch Trad Dark ride because it's super flat and has this amazing blossoming crash with just enough weight to keep the stick on top. I like a medium-sized bell with a gradual taper, not too high or low. Rideable, crashable, not too loud or dry. I've also found that I like cymbals that have a very distinct or unique voice. Okay, enough about me. Now it's up to you. Go out into the world and search for the cymbal sounds that speak to you. It's a long, arduous journey, but one that bears much fruit if you dedicate yourself to the task. But remember the words of Tony Costello. Just relax and let them come to you.